Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today in this classic review, we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe, a real American hero, their F-14 Skystriker, as you can see here. Now, this is not my original one, nor am I in the same spot that I normally am. And yes, some of you that have been with me for quite some time have seen videos of this room or other times that I've taken pictures or video in here, and I thought, well, what better place to actually review the Skystriker than on the aircraft carrier, which will eventually get reviewed. But today we're going to be taking a look at this bad boy and everything that's on it, what it does. And like I said, this is not my original. This has been pieced together. There are some 3D printed parts on it, and I'll go over that. But even with the 3D printed parts, you still can get the feel of exactly what we had back then. So we're going to take a look at this bad boy. Normally I have it up in the air over there like you see some of these other things, because I just don't want to put too much stress on the landing gear, as one of them is already starting to get kind of weak, and eventually it's going to break if it stays down. I got a few of these things up in the air. But anyway, this is what we're going to take a look at. And like I said, people have heard the stories. They know the aircraft carrier story, which we'll eventually go into. But this is the whole room. It is a small room, and this stuff takes up a lot of space. But anyway, I think it's time to actually get into this, not waste any more time looking at me, because I want to go over this, because this is these are one of the finer pieces when it comes to the G.I. Joe, a real American hero line. But before we do, if you like this type of stuff, you like when I give you just a little blast to the past, take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a G.I. Joe classic review. Alright, so here we have it. I'm going to do my best to showcase it. And as you know, we've already looked at Ace, so we're not going to go over Ace. You can see all the stickers, how worn they are. I think some of them may actually be in the wrong spots. And again, it is down here because it's just going to be a little bit easier to do. So anyway, you do have the cone tip that was rubber, so if you smash it into your brother or your sister, your mom or your dad, your wall, there's less chance of it hurting something, damaging anything. So I know we do find a lot of these are actually missing. Here is the actual Gatling gun. Now, in actuality, the Gatling gun is over here, and you can actually see that on the HasLab Skystriker, and you can go and take a look at that review that I did. But you kind of have the air vents here to cool it off, and it should be over here, but again, we were kids, it didn't really matter. We were able to see exactly where it was at. As for the canopy, you can see the way that it's designed. I just knocked off the missiles. Kind of have to remember how I have all this, how this is all set up. So you can look at the canopy. It looks really nice there. Now, this is a little worn, so it does just kind of flip up here. Now, in actuality, it's supposed to kind of click back here. One of these seats are the original, so we'll kind of pop this out. So this is the original seat. All right. You can see the peg here. Figure fits in perfectly fine, and then it's going to clip in with a couple little clips right down there. Now the 3D printed one also does the same thing. All right, and these are actually really easy. I found these on Thingiverse. So if you have one of these and you are missing seats, you're missing missiles, you can find everything on Thingiverse, and they all do work. So this here does not really stay on anymore, but you can see how it connects, and it actually connects right up underneath here. And it is meant to move up and down. Obviously, it's not supposed to come off, but we're going to take this off for right now. But here on the back, this is where the clip would be. This is how you would hold. You'd put the parachute on, and then once you threw it up, it would come crashing down, and you'd be fine. Now, the other thing is, if you do 3D print these, understand this. The reason why this is open here also is so there's enough room for the reel's legs. If I try to put this one in there, his feet aren't going to fit there. You have to have some space here. So you might have to do some dremeling out of here if this is what you're going to use, because let's say you're completely out of seats. Or maybe there's one now that's 3D printed that you don't have to do that. So anyway. And then as for the inside here, you don't really have instrument clusters, but they give you a bunch of little circles that you know are supposed to be instrument clusters, and then a couple little, what should be lights is what I'm assuming. But again, you kind of get the idea. I'm assuming a lot of you have already had this. I'm going to see if I can actually get him to stay in here as I try and move it around. And this one with the bad leg. Now I got to get this thing back on. And really it stays like this, alright? Only because, like I said, the landing gear, especially on this one, is starting to get pretty beat up. So, taking a look here at the top here, we got these nice little air vents. And then we have the covers for the engines that we will pop off in a second. I'm going to move it around this way. I'm going to try and do my best. So this is your air brake from what I understand. And unfortunately, I don't have it. Hopefully I'll have it by the time I do this. The Arista cable that's actually supposed to swing out so you can land on an aircraft carrier. Remember, this is actually a naval plane. All right? The Air Force didn't use it, so it's kind of weird that Ace, an Air Force pilot, was flying this. Here you have your wings, and again, they put all this detail in it. So you could tell they looked at what a real airplane, what a real F-14 looks like, where you have all these different panels on it that are held together, all right? As for the engines, you have to be very careful. I'm only going to pop one off and lose it. So there you have your engine compartment. I can't even say it's an engine, it's just a mechanical compartment. The engines just technically would be towards the back is what I would assume, right? But as you look, you got these little vents here. All this detail. Again, if you went and bought one of those $5 planes, you're going to get very little detail. And this was all stuff I think we noticed as a kid, but we didn't really notice per se. And these are the right ones. I know they don't look like it because they're faded differently, but these are the right ones. These did not go to one of the other Skystrikers. This is the actual one. I don't know why they're faded different colors, but they are. All right. Here we have the tail wings. Now, this is one of the pieces that were always broken. So for me to get two of them that weren't broken, I actually had hot glue on mine trying to hold them on, and they never really worked. But you can see where it's supposed to be. On this other side here, I'm just dropping missiles like crazy. I actually tried to remove what was on it, and it kind of burnt into it. So eventually I'll probably try and get another rear fin or whatever it's called. And then on the back here, here's our engines, and these engines are removable, and they were meant to slide out. And on the inside, you can see the fans that are going to turn it, the propulsion, I'm assuming. Now you can take these blast effects right over here that are on the HasLab, and you can pop them on there. You can also swap out some of the missiles, so if you want to have blast effects, you can do it on your original one. So let's say you only have one HasLab and you have this, you have them both flying. You can have them both shooting. Unfortunately, you can't have them both with the jet engines. You can also 3D print these. I think I had a couple 3D printed ones. Matter of fact, when I got rid of them, when I sold one, I had 3D printed. They were a little bit loose, so they'd have to use a little bit of sticky tack. These ones slide in really nice. All right. As for the bottom, I'm going to do my best here. Those fins are going to get in the way there. Here's where you can see a little bit more detail here. Obviously, it can only hold 6 missiles, and I have them where they're, at least where I believe they're supposed to be. All right. This is your exhaust. Well, this is your air intake, not your exhaust, your air intake. And they did a really fine job on the HasLab one a really fine job on the Hasbro one, putting detail on this. Now this here, a lot of us always thought was a bomb. This is actually a an extra canister of fuel. Now this one does not come off. I've seen people that have gotten them off. These are not supposed to come off. Where the new ones, the HasLab, the other ones, this thing comes off. Now I actually use this to hold it up into place. Where I tried to put in the other one and forgot, and luckily it fell off before I had a chance to try and have it up there and have it fall off. All right. Now as for the landing gear, this is 3D printed right there. You actually have rubber rolling wheels on both, and there are 2 little springs, and they will pop off. If you lose any of this here, you're going to have a hard time, and I mean a extreme hard time getting this thing to work. Now you can kind of see how they're wobbly and they're not on the same in the same way. As soon as I close this, I'm going to close it here and do my best, but I can open it up. Oh, it actually closed really easily. I think opening up is hard. So it closes really easily. All right. Shows you up and down. Now, I always wanted to fly it with the wings open. That's one reason why I wanted the HasLab one. And then I found myself in all the pictures, everything that I did, it almost always had the wings closed when I had it flying. All right. A lot of years to move with these wings and landing gear. And so you have the Skystriker right here. Again, this detail is extremely, extremely nice. All right. Everything that you have. So we're going to quickly look at everything. Now, one of these is 3D print. I know I have these missiles. At least I'm pretty sure I have at least one. So what we actually have is this is the HasLab missile. It tells you exactly what it is, the BX-89. This is a 3D printed one. Again, you get this off Thingiverse. It does have the dog bone. The only one that I had a problem with, and these are the original missiles, is the small missile. The sidewinders, I didn't have a problem with. This is a 3D printed one. As a matter of fact, I like the 3D printed one because I like the dark, the nice shiny black. But as I drop things, as I mentioned, the moment you do videos, they become all sticky fingers. So here's a small one, the small missile. You got the dog bone. Technically, you can put it anywhere that you want. It's got the four fins here, or 4 wings. 4 wings right in the front, and then obviously you have this one. And I think that's more of a stabilizer, but they just needed somewhere to put the dog bone through it. No place for blast effects, which is understandable. Then there is this one. Now be careful, because for the battle platform, the tactical battle platform, they used a almost exact same missile, but it has a different dog bone system. It actually doesn't have a full dog bone on it. I can actually grab one. Matter of fact, I have one underneath it, but I got one I think that I can grab easier here. So if you're trying to complete it, you see that? This has like a half dog bone, but the missile is the exact same. Well, almost the exact same. It's different up here, but for the most part, they're made the same. But just be careful. If you're buying something on eBay and say, hey, these are for the Skystriker, they're not. You want to make sure that this is the dog bone pin right this. But same thing here. This is a thicker shaft here. Matter of fact, they made it thicker here. I know, that's what she said. So they can do the pin here. And again, you have the 4 little wings that are going through it. And just a little bit of design on it, probably to make it look more aerodynamic. As for the big missile, again, this is not the original one. It is in this dark gray. So looking at this here, these look the exact same, and they do fit on. Actually, all the Skystrikers that I have, all the types of missiles, they all fit. All right? Except for these. These ones, for some odd reason, I have a hard time interchanging them from the 3D printed one to the other ones. And I don't know why, but the two bigger ones, no problem. Anyway, up top, you don't really see anything. You have a long wing right here. Again, it's the quad wing, and then you have the quad here. Now on the original here, just like the other ones, it's just flat. This one has a spot for blast effects, which you can see on any HasLab review. Again, if you're going to watch a HasLab review, go watch mine. All right. So, as I kind of showed off here, all right, I'm going to try and pull this out. Now, this is what you really need to be careful of, all right? When you're trying to move this out, if it's giving you any type of problem, you really want to open these up and just kind of pull it out just a little bit. And then you'll be able to get this out. But again, over time, we all know this plastic, it starts to bend, it starts to break. And as long as it is sitting like this, eventually it's going to give and something there is going to crack. This system is way better than the Rattler. But again, still has its problems. The Night Raven also has problems. The Conquest has its own set of problems, and we will be able to look at all of those when we finally get to it. But to close this, and we can watch it here, I don't have any issues because it passes by the covers. And again, this one here, I don't have the original cover. That is why it's so white. Matter of fact, it's too small. And trying to get this to 3D print to the proper scale just was a pain, so I just kind of left it like that. But to armor this thing up, we're going to throw the two front missiles. Now, if you go look online and actually look at what the ordnance is of an F-14 Tomcat, you will find all different types of ordnances. A lot of times with these, the Sidewinders, and a bunch of these, I've seen it with like 6 or 8 of these things. So these ones usually went right in the middle. And again, one's 3D printed, one is the HasLab. Matter of fact, that one is a little too loose. Fits on this side, not on that side. 3D printed. And again, here's the regular one, the original. I can kind of throw that on there. Now, in actuality, does it matter what color they are? No, because you're going to be taking out Cobra airplanes. As you can see here, my canopy doesn't want to stay on. All right. I think the clips, I think they've seen better days, or maybe it's even on the inside. Hard to tell. But here on the bottom, this is how they let people know. Like if they're engaging, they'll show to tell them that, hey, we are armed and ready to go. Or they'll turn and say, hey, I'm not armed. This is a training exercise. As you can see, G.I. Joe, they're always armed. And as much as I love the Rattler and other planes such as that, the F-14 I still think is the most beautiful plane ever made. I've come to fall in love with the F-22. The Rattler, again, they house these over by my house, the A-10. So I'm always super interested. Actually, I was actually able to get it to open up that way. I was always interested. I love seeing them. But in actuality, you got to take the disbelief out of G.I. Joe when playing, because this plane right here, let's just say an A-10 Warthog, what the Rattler is built off of, stands no chance against an F-14 Tomcat. It never sees it coming. It takes it out of the sky. It doesn't have a chance. But in the lore of G.I. Joe, it was a formidable fighter. But anyway, this is your review of your Skystriker, the original Skystriker in 1983. Again, it was made before the aircraft carrier, but the fact that they made it so, well, they eventually made an Arista cable or Arista hook that you could connect on here for this. Shows you that they were thinking ahead. So they knew that eventually we want to do something that is big and mighty, and that is what this thing is sitting on. So anyway, that wraps it up. Let's finish this video. Thank you for sticking around for 18 minutes and watching me fumble around with the original G.I. Joe Real American Hero Skystriker. And just in case anyone is wondering, this is how I normally have the Skystriker. It is up on there, so I don't have to have the landing gear out. It is secure. It is secure to the ceiling with some nice thicker rope. So hopefully I never have to worry about this thing falling down, as I really don't want to ever have to replace it, nor have to worry about it crashing down on some other things that might be fairly expensive. So there you go. All right, so here you have the Skystriker with the wings closed. I always wanted to get 5 of the HasLab Skystrikers because, unfortunately, with the Skystriker with the wings or with the landing gear down, you have to have the wings open. And as big as this large aircraft carrier is, it doesn't hold that many. And I always wanted to have like 5 of them lined up, but that was too pricey. But I have like 5 different Skystrikers here. Some are considered Skystrikers, and other ones are. One is a Cobra one, but Cobra doesn't get the F-14. All right, they get the Rattler. I don't know why they get the A-10 Warthog. Anyway, I'm rambling on. There's the underbelly, so you can show everything that you're carrying, all the missiles. Again, if you like this type of stuff, tell me a story. Maybe you had this. Maybe this was the one big vehicle that you got. Maybe Grandma found this and knew you wanted it, but Mom and Dad said, no, you're not getting that. It's too expensive. But Grandma and Grandpa didn't care, especially Grandma. She always wanted to get you stuff. Anyway, tell me a story if you had it, if you liked the characters, if your parachutes are still around, or if you used them and after 2 or 3 uses, tosses, shall I say, they were gone. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, but before I do, please take a second. Wait a minute. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. But now don't go anywhere. What I am going to do is you're like, hey, I need to see Ace. And Ace is going to be right here. And down here will be a playlist of all the G.I. Joe classic reviews that I've done. Take care.